Hey, welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to deploy a dashboard using Streamlit. Okay, so in this collab, in this notebook, I'll show you I will have the code to create our first dashboards. We're going to deploy them using Streamlit, but before we do that, there are some steps. The first one is you need to create a GitHub account. It's important to say that this is not the only way to do this. There are some alternative libraries that you can add, so you can deploy the dashboard in your browser. However, I believe that using GitHub and Streamlit Cloud, it's simple. The nice thing is like you can kind of like share those dashboards just with the link, and it's stable. It's very stable. Let's go over the process. All right. So the first thing is you need to create a GitHub account. So please go to github.com. If you don't have the account, just sign up. If you already have one, just sign in. So you will need to provide an email, a password, a username. Then you will need to verify. So you should pause the video until you finish this part, and then press play. Okay, once you completed the signing process, so just provide your credentials, and now you will be here ready in your GitHub account. In your GitHub account, you can create a repository. So mine, I just deleted everything for this video, so you can create a repository, a new one. So the owner, this is the name that you created in the when you were signing up. So the repository name, I will just use like example one. It's up to you, the name that you want to add. The description is optional. I'm going to make it public. Please check the README file. So it means that it's going to initialize the repository, and it's going to add the README file, which is going to be empty. And in the README file, later, if you want, you can add some description of the repository, some examples and things like that. But for now, just please check to add the README file. And once you're done, just click here in Create Repository. So we have created our repository, example one. There is only the README file. I'm gonna add a new file. So now I'm gonna add the code that I wanna use to create our first dashboard or our first app. So it's empty. So you can go to the collab, to the notebook file. So here we have our first example. So I just will give you a quick overview of what we have here. So we're importing Streamlit as st. This is the alias. Plotly, remember, for interactive plots, and pandas for data manipulation. All right. So the first thing we do is like we add a title to our app. This is in Streamlit, st.title, the name. This is just text, then whatever name you want to add. Then here we just create some random data. This is for a bar chart, right? So we have the category A, B, C, D. This can be a product or a region, and the values can be the sales, right? Okay, so this is a dictionary. Then we create a data frame. We have done that before. Then, using Plotly Express, we create our bar chart. So using the bar chart, we take the data from the data frame df, X is category, Y values, and the title. So there is nothing new here. The only two different things, like maybe here we're adding a title to our app, and then the figure, which is a Plotly figure. Now we create a chart using Streamlit. So st Plotly chart, and we use the figure that we just created. And that's it. This is the code that I'm going to use. If you run it here, you won't see an output. Now I'm going to copy and paste this right in the new file that we were creating in our repository. Right. Add a file. Add a name to the file. So this is example one dot py. The extension is important because if you don't add extension, then Streamlit won't recognize this as your source code. So important to add the .py extension. And once you're done with the code, just commit changes. This is how you save changes here in GitHub. So the name of the commit and the description if you want. I will keep it everything as it is. Just commit changes. And now we have the README that was originally created with the repository and the x1 .py, right? Which just created with the code. Now there is one more thing that we need to add here. One file with the requirements. In the requirements, which is a txt file, a text file, we're going to add the libraries that are needed in order to run our source code. So there are three, in this specific case, we're using three libraries: pandas, streamlit, and plotly, right? So, and then we add the name, requirements.txt. So please make sure that the name is exactly the same, this one. The order here is not relevant, it doesn't matter, the order of the libraries. But please ensure that you have the same name, requirements.txt. So Streamlit is going to recognize that file in your repository. Okay, we commit changes, we confirm, we commit changes, and now we have the three files. That's everything that we need here for example one. Now, so far you have created a GitHub account and you were able to create the source code and the requirements. Important, the extensions, right? Now, find Streamlit Cloud. Streamlit Cloud, you can just Google it. Community Cloud, and just click Join Community Cloud. And same thing, you will need to sign up if this is your first time. But please make sure that you connect your Streamlit account to the GitHub account. There is an option, so do not create it just from scratch. So make sure that you use your GitHub account. So continue to sign in. I'm gonna continue with GitHub. So this is really important that you connect your account. Okay, so once we have completed the process, and you should pause the video if you are like doing all the steps, we can create an app. Just hit here, click here, create an app, and we will use the first option. It has the GitHub logo here. Deploy a public app from GitHub. Deploy now. Alright, so which repository you want to use? So in my case, that is one example one, right? So in your case, you will have the name that you created for your GitHub account, and then the name of the repository, example one. And then here in the main file path, find the file with your source code. Remember, we call it x1.py here. So it's finding it. Once you click here, it should identify which is the source code that is located in that repository. So x1.py. Then this is the link to access the app or the dashboard once we complete the process. You can change it. You can change because right now it has like some letters, numbers. So we can just type like example one, x1. Example one, and let me add more things because it's taking like DB, like data visualization, it's taking, and communication. Let's have the C. That's it. All right. So the domain is available. You can create a different one, right? It doesn't have to be the same. So once we're done, we deploy, and it will take some time. So you will see food, like cake, pizza. Yeah, there are some different icons here while it's creating our app. It takes some time. The nice thing is that once it's done, you don't have to again to create the app. It's gonna be available. So it's running our app. It's about to be finished, and there you go. Here is our bar chart. Remember that we create using Plotly. It's interactive. It's an interactive plot. You can zoom in, zoom out. The nice thing is that you can share it with this address. You can just send it. You can test it using your cell phone, and yeah, it should work. All right. I'm gonna create one more. The nice thing is once you have signed in, now you will have here your apps, right? Okay, so same idea. We find the code that we want to create. So in this one, it's we're using the Gapminder data. Remember, it has the information about countries, the life expectancy, and the GDP. So we created a tile for our app. It's our dashboard. It's interactive dashboard with Streamlit and Plotly. This is an alternative. This is something different here. We're creating here a slider. So the slider is going to help us it will show a slider so the user can interact. You can change the year using the slider. So there is a text that says select year, and what you have here is the minimum value. So it's like the first value of the slider. The maximum value is the last value in the slider, and this is the default value, which is the first value that it will be given or shown in the plot. So it's the first year, the minimum value. So with this, we have the slider, and once the user defines, because the users can change this, right, like which year they want. So then we get that input and we save it in year, and with that we can filter the data, right, using that information from the slider, and then we create a scatter plot for that specific year. So Plotly Express scatter, but here we're using the filtered data frame, right, because the user is interacting. So this is the way in which we reflect that interaction or the inputs that the user is providing. You know these parameters already. X the GDP, Y is the life expectancy, size is population. This is optional, right? Color, continent, hover name, country, and then we display the plot using Streamlit. So st.plotly chart and the figure that we just created. So if you notice, you have used all of these commands before. The only changes are the st title and this st.plotly chart. But other than that, oh, and the slider here, of course. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this example 2. So the first thing now, it's like we need to create another repository. We already have one. I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to create example 2. It's public. I'm going to add the README file. We create the repository. And same thing. So we have the README file, it's empty. You can modify it here. This is same thing as in Collab. In those chunks where you add text, it works the same thing. Actually, if I edit this one, look at the header, right? It has the hash sign here, the number sign. So it's the same idea. You can use LaTeX here. You can create lists, describe, and all of that. All right. So I'm gonna add here in the new repository, I'm going to add a new file, which is going to be the code. This is the code, example 2, the 3 libraries, and like we load the data and all the stuff. The name of your file, I'm going to call it x2. It's really important, the extension .py. If you don't type the extension again, Streamlit won't recognize the file. Maybe when you see a repository, but there is no like a main file. It's because you didn't add the .py. Okay, once you're done, commit changes. Now it's not the end of the world. If for some reason you forget to add the .py, you just go back and you edit the file. And when you edit the file, you will be able to change the name. That's it. All right. Oh. Okay. So we're in example 2. Now we need to add the requirements, right? So add a file, create file, simple, it's the same thing if you notice. So the requirements, we're using Plotly, Pandas, and Streamlit. The name of the file requirements .txt, commit changes. So now our repository is ready with the required files. So you just go back to Streamlit Cloud. Here we already have one example here. So I'm going to create a new app, right? Using GitHub. So we find a new repository example too. You can use different names, right? Now here the main file path, it's x2. That's the name that we provided, x2.py. Again, if you don't add the extension .py, then it won't show here the file. It's ready. Then I get a load name, right? You can change that, remember? So I'm going to use example 2. Data visualization. Oh, DB is available. So I'm going to use it, and I'm going to deploy the model. Setting, it will take some time until it renders all the information, it runs the code, and it creates our app, which again, it can be accessed using this link. If you share it, you should be able to, other people will be able to access the file, the app. There you go. So we get this is the title, right? Then we have the slider. This is the slider for the year. So if we change the slider, now there is one thing with this slider. Please notice that here is empty. It's because for the year 1955 there is no information. It changes every 5 years. I mean, there is an observation for every 5 years. So it's like 1952, then the next one is 1957. You see? Then the next one is going to be 1962. The other years are empty, right? So we can fix that if you want. I will show you. 62, and yeah, every 5 years we have an observation. And again, this is an interactive plot. It's working. It's working. So if you wanna change the step, instead of changing one by one, you can change it like every 5 years. You can edit here the slider, ST slider. So we have the minimum value, the first value, the last value, and the default. These are correct. We're going to add one more parameter here, the step. So just comma. Oh, I need to edit, right? It's not editing. So let's edit the example 2. Here, step. So step, the default is 1, right? So we change it to 5. Step equal to 5. Be careful with the parentheses because there are different parentheses here. Let's commit changes. Alright, so now we have updated the file and the repository. So let's go to our so it's not taking the change right away. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create it again. I guess if I reboot them, I'm gonna just delete it, but I guess if I reboot it, it will work. I deploy now. Example 2, deploy. It's creating the app, our dashboard with a slider that's going to change like one step. It's 5 years, so we don't have those empty years in our analysis. So now you see the default is 5 years, so there are no empty years. So it's working. Great. Let's do one more. So example number 3. In example number 3, we're using the same two libraries, same data set, the gapminder. We create the title, we create a slider, right? Same thing. You can change the step if you want for the slider. Here, this is optional. Everything looks better. Okay, and then we filter data, but now we're creating 3 plots. 3 different plots using Plotly. The first one is a scatter plot, the same that that we had for example number 2, and then there is a bar chart and a line chart, right? So the bar chart is showing the population per continent, and the line is showing the GDP per country. So what we're gonna do with these 3 different plots, we're gonna arrange them. So we're gonna put one next to other. So we're gonna create 2 columns. In one column, I'm gonna place figure 1. In the second column, figure 2. And then I'm gonna create the third one. The third figure is gonna be in the 2 columns. So what we do here is, okay, let's create call 1, call 2. So using streamlit dot columns, we're gonna create 2 columns. It can be 3, but in this case, we're gonna use 2 columns. Now with column 1, we create a Plotly chart using figure 1, and with column 2 we will use a Plotly chart for figure 2, and then the third one is not going to be in one of these 2 columns. It's going to be like in both of them. So we add the third one here with st Plotly chart figure 3, and we're ready. So let me copy and paste this code. This is our example 3. So we'll go to GitHub. We're going to create now a new repository here. So let's create a new one. Example 3. Again, the name is optional. Add the README file. All right. We need to create the 2 files, the code. So just pasting here example 3. Information. The name, so x3.py. We commit changes. Now let's add the requirements. Requirements.txt. So we'll use pandas, Plotly, and streamlit. We commit changes. It's done. So now to deploy our app, this is not just for dashboards. It's also for apps in general using the Streamlit framework. Okay, so we're going to create an app from GitHub, from our new repo. This one, example 3, x3.py. And we deploy it. Here we should get the 3 plots, right? The first 2 plots in 2 columns, and then below these 2 there will be a single a plot in both columns. So it's bigger. The third plot is bigger here. Okay, so here we have our slider, and it's working. Steps, like 5. We have our first 2 plots, right? Figure 1, figure 2. This is the population per continent. It's interesting, right? There's a huge difference. Then again, we have our third figure here. You notice it's using the 2 columns, right? So In this way, you can add more columns if you want. You can add more rows, or you have different configurations, right? In how you want to arrange your figures here. The next thing is that they are interactive. You can add some sliders. You can add tabs if you want. That's example number 4. If you try example number 4 on your own, you will see that there are tabs with different views, right? So yeah, this is how you create dashboard and you deploy them using Streamlit. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next session.